The music industry just flipped the script. AI isn't stealing songs, it's licensing them. Universal, Warner, and Sony are cutting deals with AI startups to get paid every time their tracks train a model or generate a beat. Lawsuits are out, monetization is in, and IP might just become the most valuable asset in the AI age. Watch the full video because this isn't just about music, it's a blueprint for how all creative industries will fight or cash in on AI.
Staying in the lane of AI, Gary, thing number two, we're talking about the three big music labels. They've been working a deal having to do with AI, the use of their artists' music. You reference in the written version, this is better than going after and suing college kids for AI infringement or whatever, or rights infringement, whatever else it may be. Thing number two, Gary, the music industry is betting big on AI, further just advancing what we were talking about previously.
Yeah, so we have a really interesting situation in AI-related music. Basically, so people understand the way the LLMs work, the large language models, or what people know to be generative AI, things like ChatGPT or X's Grok, or Llama, or Gemini. What they do is you feed into them tons and tons and tons of information, and it starts to make comparisons, and it starts to understand the relationships between these things. So, we've all seen the things before where you say, okay, well, write me a song that, sounds like something that Katy Perry would do, that sounds like, like lyrics from the Rolling Stones with a bass line from, some great funk group like George Clinton, right? And we've all heard that stuff before. Well, in order for those things to work, in order to make a song that sounds like, something Taylor Swift would do, or the Rolling Stones would do, or, any, whoever your favorite group is, the LLM needs to be trained on music from that artist. All of their music is fed in. And so what the artists are saying is, wait a minute, you guys are using our IP. You're using our copyrighted music, and you're using it to turn out something that sounds like me but isn't me, and shouldn't I be paid for that? Further complicating things, there are three big music labels in the United States, or really in the world. One is Universal Music Group. One is Warner Music, and the reason I had to change that to be in the world. The third one is Sony, which is, of course, based in Japan. And those three labels own the rights and the marketing rights to most of the big artists in the world. And they're saying, yeah, we would like to get paid for this. You guys are making music based on something our artists have done. We should get paid. And so what they're doing is they're in active discussions with AI music startups like Suno and Udio to license their whole catalogs for use in generative AI models. And what that will do is it's an attempt to ensure that artists and labels receive compensation each time their work is used in training models and creating new tracks. And, obviously these negotiations come amid, because it's the music business, ongoing copyright lawsuits and increasing pressure. One of the things that makes it hard is the legal framework for dealing with this stuff isn't fully fleshed out yet. Now, obviously, the legal framework for copyright is very well fleshed out, but it's not crystal clear what it means if you, think about it this way, Rob. Let's say you and I formed a band, and we said, wow, we really like this kind of music or that kind of music, and we made music based on the music we like, but the way we decided we liked it was we listened to other people's music. And you can draw these great lines, where people like James Brown, their music was then used by groups like Tower of Power, or groups like George Clinton, and those groups all influenced an artist like Prince, right? Can you sue them? No. Everybody listens to other people's music and makes other music that sounds similar, and they influence each other. And there's a reason that different genres of music have certain characteristics in common. But what does it mean if you use a computer to scrape somebody's entire back catalog and then produce music that sounds like them? That there are going to be lawsuits, and that part of the law is not fully fleshed out quite yet. So what the labels are doing in trying to avoid litigation, they're pushing for systems like YouTube's Content ID system, which enables royalties tracking and in some cases equity stakes. And this could potentially not only resolve existing lawsuits, but set an industry-wide precedent for how creative rights are managed. And the beauty of that is you don't need to settle that in court. If all the parties come to an agreement and decide it's fair, then nobody goes to court. You don't need to expand in the legal framework. So it also could establish a new revenue stream. That's what they're going for here.
Yeah, so I mean, Gary, is this a situation where the content creators or IP owners, the artists, I mean, are they going to receive compensation directly from these companies for LLM training? Are they going to actively train? Or, I mean, what does that compensation look like?
So it's not done yet, but the way these things are typically done is the music labels will usually have responsibility and an incentive to figure out who owes what and go collect. So, for instance, if you are an artist and you hear your song played in a place or in a way that it shouldn't be without compensation, the artist isn't going to, go knock on somebody's door and say, hey, write me a check. It's typically the music labels that go looking for people who are using music and saying, you owe us money, send it to us. And then what happens is they've set up systems so that the artists can audit that. And it used to be a couple of times a year, and then it went to a monthly basis. And now, like, some of these artists are actually getting daily reports. And when that happens, the big three labels they'll defend the copyright, they'll collect the money, and pass on to the artists their share of all that. Now, one thing that I think is really interesting is we have started to see some threatened lawsuits in writing, right? The newspapers have said, wait a minute, these LLMs, you've been scraping 100 years of our newspaper writing, either don't do that or pay us for it. So it's really interesting that in this situation, it could be the music labels leading the way to some sort of collaborative agreement. And it'll be really interesting to see what happens with newspapers, publishers, authors, people who write books or blogs. I don't know, is somebody scraping the Deep Knowledge Investing blog and training an LLM on what we're writing? For that, should we be paid for that? I mean, these are really interesting questions, and there are threatened lawsuits. So the answer to your question is it'll be the music labels collecting, but it'll also be interesting to see if people who are in the written business, whether it's newspapers or books, try to follow along in the same direction.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't kind of got ahead of it, and just on even basic ChatGPT, I think it's 4.0, but the GPTs that you can create, right, where I'll just go on voice record my thoughts, and I've turned it into a Ask Rob SEO, Ask Rob Business, right, to where, connect it on our website, or we're even using it internally for certain procedural things to where, okay, instead of coming to an actual human for the question, go to the GPT that can generate the answer, and we're not wasting time having to search for answers or find what people might think. It's all built into the GPT itself. So super interesting there. Gary, follow-up question too. I mean, how much of this is a change kind of in strategy for the music industry as well, right? I mean, for them, I obviously see, hey, they're looking at it from protecting their artists, but then just revenue stream and strategy adjustment with the changing dynamics of the market.
Yeah, so first of all, my version of Ask Rob is I just have your cell phone. I just call you or text you. I actually Ask Rob, which is, I find incredibly convenient.
Here, right? That's what we're trying to do with AI, right? It seems to be.
Either that, or maybe we should post your cell phone number in the chat or in the comments in the description and see how that goes. But at any rate, look, you're asking a really important question, because if we go back 25 years, and yeah, it's that long, and some of our viewers may not remember this, but the music business used to have these really high margins, and there was a period of time when the only way to get a digital download was to pirate it. It wasn't until less than 25 years ago that Apple came up with the Apple Music Store, which hurt the music business in a completely different way. Normally, you'd have to buy an entire album for like $15 at the time. And, the issue was, you were typically buying an album might have like 8 songs on it, but you might only want 1 or 2, and you had to buy the whole album for that. And then, Apple made it possible to pay 99 cents per song. So you got everything you wanted off of the album for $1 to $2. But before they did that, there was a period where if you wanted to listen to digital music, if you wanted to have something, on like a media player, and this is before everybody was carrying around cell phones, the only way to do it was to pirate that music. And the music business, instead of adjusting to the technology and finding ways to make digital downloads possible, to make them legal, to work with people, to just say, hey, listen, we don't love that people are pirating our music, but at least they're listening to it and passing around. It's free advertising. Kind of like artists put their music on YouTube now, right? I mean, there were all these great solutions. The artists now put their music on YouTube for free and say, please listen to it, pass it around, send your friends a link, right? Please like, subscribe, and share. They weren't doing any of that. And they made the horrible choice to start suing college kids. They started going after college students for thousands of dollars, which, didn't really stop anybody from pirating music, but it made the labels look like bullies. When Universal Music, which is the largest music label in the world, was suing college students for thousands of dollars because they were downloading a few songs they liked in a dorm. I'm not arguing that what the college students were doing was legal or right. I'm just saying it looked really bad, and it ended up getting them a ton of bad publicity. Everybody looked like an idiot here. I think what they're doing right now, I think they've learned from the past. I think if the music labels had it to do again, they would not have sued college students a quarter century ago. This time, they're going to the people that they think are using their artists' IP, their intellectual property, unfairly, and saying, hey, let's work out a deal. Let's come up with something that works for you, that gets us paid, that allows us to pay our artists. Let's collaborate. And I think it's a much better approach, because suing college students for $10,000 just isn't a good idea. It just made everyone look dumb.
Yeah, no doubt about that, Gary. So definitely think better approach this time around for the music industry and the labels. But again, I think the big picture is AI development. It's coming fast. Industries are being disrupted. Technology is really strong and powerful, right? And we're still have not even, I think, harnessed the complete power of what AI can do. You're watching this week's version of the 5 Things to Know in Investing with Deep Knowledge Investing. I'm Rob Farron, here with Gary Brode, managing partner of Deep Knowledge. This is the nuclear AI issue. We'd love if you head to our website, deepknowledgeinvesting.com, sign up for a free subscription. Also consider our premium paid subscription. That'll get you access to all of our current recommendations and premium content. And definitely subscribe. Same place, same time on a weekly basis. We'll release this 5 Things show on YouTube, as well as we'll have multiple shorts and just individual breakdown clips of the topics that we're discussing on the full version of the show.